Morning, guys. How are we doing? Well, it's afternoon. Apologies. 10 minutes to 15 minutes to 2. If you can't hear, I haven't been very well. I haven't been very well for a couple of days. Um, so this is just going to be a quick short update in terms of just kind of maybe the certain few things that I'm looking at. Um, and then I'll try to do a bit of a bigger breakdown maybe later on. So 5-10 minutes now, and we can see. I'm starting off with that GBP JPY. What I did have boxed off was more of like a 4 hour range. We did see that we had a huge release of pressure into last week. We can see that the consolidation occurred. We've also got this double kind of spinning top formation here as well. So I took the lows of this and I was expecting a bit of a breakout from there. And that's exactly what we got on the 4 hour. We got a nice confirmed strong, very, very strong kind of bearish closure back below. We moved 100 pips in this London session this morning in terms of the volatility within that. And importantly, we broke back below 148, which actually we've just kind of retested 147.90 as such. The reason I've got that plotted in there and was predicting maybe a slight pull up was because we'd come back below this region in here. And if we were going to go lower, we were inevitably maybe coming to retest that daily MA there. And if not, that 4 hour MA's up there as well as the 4 hour 50 EMA's up there as well. So it's just a region that I expect to pair. If we are going to like have some further volatility in the US session, we could look to react off of that kind of 147.90, 148 type level. However, my 4 hour consolidation zone is broken and my MAs have crossed to the downside. So my first initial thought on this is going to be looking to duplicate the height and size. If we were going to be stuck in that certain amount of range to begin with, we could move that amount of pips to the downside next side. So at the moment that lines up quite nicely with 146. 146 does come in alignment with what we could see in terms of maybe a bit of a third touch of this ascending trend line here as well. And that daily 50, which I use for target positions and for price to reject and rebound. So if I did layer this one more, I could be using this type of a formation to actually sink the pair slightly lower, back in towards 145-ish, anywhere between 145.50 and 146.60. I personally will probably look to manage my trade position. But the 4 hour has given me the signal. I've got the daily higher time frame price suggesting that this is a new higher high confirmation, and therefore I do need some sort of a retracement or correction back in to form a new higher low before continuing the sequence. So that is what I am looking at on here, simply because I've had that 4 hour break and closure here. The way that it did break past and the MAs have crossed, it broke through 147.80, it broke through 147.50. It wasn't quite Maribozu, but it was a strong closure, and we could still be in alignment for something like this fib in here as well. We have rejected for 3 occasions at 71%, and the extension again lines us up quite nicely into 146. So there's quite a few setups or confluences there in regards of that as being a setup. I didn't expect this move to happen so violently. However, it has done. Hence, the market can't always just continuously drop out the sky, and this may actually now trickle back down for the rest of the week. But that is kind of what I'm looking at on that GBP JPY. If I can get the daily break and closure, because that's what we failed to really kind of maintain. We had the huge release of pressure here, and now if we can get a daily break and closure back below this MA, that could be the first signal to actually send us for a further 150 pip decline back to the downside. Now, in addition to that, Euro JPY did a similar thing. Actually just come in on this on that retest, literally, yeah, bang on, bang on. So I just did a video on Everything FX. If you are a member on there, go check that out. As to why I was looking for the retracement back up into this region, you've got the singular wick low in here. Again, you've had the huge release of pressure immediately into that support. Now, that was last week's video. So if you had that from last week's video, fantastic, you made some profit. Now let's look for a kind of a stall and rejection of price at this region in here, anywhere around 131.50, a nice psychological boundary, and hopefully we will come follow through towards 130. It's a very similar concept, a very similar setup in a way that you could place an ascending trend line on here as well. You could go from A into B, sorry, you got 1 to 2. We could look to come and target anywhere down here. I don't favor that trend line simply because I favor the horizontal flatline price. So what's crucial for this is the fact that this 4 hour may actually be relatively neutral and strong, But if we can stall over the next couple of hours and then come back down and begin a new leg to the downside, 130 most definitely is on the cards for us. But this was quite a clear and concise support level. So remember, we try getting at the highest point possible with a very, very tight stop. And if we can't, we look for break and closure, hence why my arrows are either from this resistance high up here, we are always trying to sell resistances, or we look to break through support and come to the downside. I could follow through quite quickly. I mean, UJ, I'm sure lots and lots of people are looking at UJ. We've hit massive, massive, I think is this yearly highs, 2018? Yeah, this is yearly highs now for 2018. Although 114 is a major psychological level, you've got 140.35 as such just above it that could be hit. Just be aware that could be hit. But yeah, we are looking for our first kind of day of slowdown in price. We're going to see how price reacts to that. So UJ, definitely one for the watch list. We could be popping higher. However, we have had that release of pressure that we saw across these Japanese yen pairs, and I will be looking for price. So essentially stall in here and form a bit of a level of correction. The first immediate downside support would be around 113.20 as a bit of a level. So NJ is a similar concept. AJ, similar concept. Bit of a consolidation zone on the 4 hour. Looking for the follow through and break out of that zone. And we will see if we can come and reach that level. So that's that. Now the USD pairs are probably on a lot of everybody's type of list. So Euro USD, ignore that. That was something I'm trying on a 50-minute time frame to introduce to the course. The daily time frame here, we can see that we've had a huge sell-off in price immediately into the supportive region of lows. Now I know that I'm sure all of you have that plotted on, so we've just got to be aware of that. Is it going to go higher or lower? I'm not entirely sure, but there's a few things with the Italian borrowing situation that is causing some difficulties for the euro, and essentially this could be the start of the left. Or sorry, this could be the start of a double top, 1 and 2, and if we came and made an equal low down here, we would then create a consolidation range. And then for that scope, I need to see a break below 1.150 for me to consider actually selling this thing beyond any level that it currently is at, because at the moment it's sold off straight into support, and then we can deal with the scenario from now. So the 4 hour is trying to, a lot of take profits will be taking from here in and around this region, and therefore that's what you just have to be aware of. Wait till you get any form of bullish price action to consider a kind of an entry on that. At the moment, the daily is still, we still got the New York session. Sorry, my mind is scrambled. You've still got the New York session to consider at the moment, but we have sold straight off into support, so it's definitely one for the watch list to consider. Aussie dollar. I've just written about this. Lower high, lower high, lower high. What we need is a daily break and closure below the 0.7200. If we can get that daily break, excuse me one second. If we can get that daily break and closure below 0.7200, then I believe that could be the indication we're looking for to begin a new leg. What would invalidate a bearish bias on this is a nice break and closure above this trend line. That's what I'm looking for to actually invalidate any bearish momentum at the moment. Of course, I am fully aware left head potential, right? But this is why I'm waiting for a full daily break and closure below, depending how that major reacts at the moment. It's a similar story across the board. So what I'm really going to do is basically just isolate that dollar index. That dollar index, we can see that 95.50, 1 attempt, 2 attempt, 3 attempt, 4, break, 1 attempt, 2 attempt. So the weekly candlestick closure was a very, very strong candlestick closure, bullish engulfing, back off the 50, squeeze the bottom down here. And we can see how that has driven us straight into the highs of 95.50. So this is going to be the make or break on any of our US dollar currencies. We can see how the last time that we had a full body break and closure through it, we accelerated back in towards nearly 97. So if we did have a full body break and closure back in this region, it could be considered that this thing is going to go much, much higher. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to catch up on a lot more. I'm dying over here. So let's keep that dollar index on there. Those Japanese yen pairs look pretty good, and if we can see some continued strength on this, we can expect a further push to the downside across those major currency pairs. So guys, trade safe. I'll catch up either this evening once daily candlesticks have closed, or tomorrow morning for that maybe midweek reversal formation. So guys, trade safe. I'll catch up with you soon.